Good morning. Today is Thursday, July 23rd, and this is our weekly COVID-19 update briefing. Unfortunately, I have to inform you this morning that we've had a very bad week, resulting in 1,701 positive COVID-19 cases. That's an increase of 298 in just 1 week, the largest weekly increase we've experienced. And unfortunately, we've also had an increase in the number of deaths, which have increased to 53 for the parish, which is an increase of 14. This past Tuesday, Governor Edwards announced that the state has seen an alarming increase in the number of positive COVID-19 test results and hospitalizations. And at that time, he reported that makes Louisiana the number 2 in the nation for positive COVID per capita positive test results. As a consequence, the governor has directed that we remain in phase 2 of the recovery until August the 7th. The governor had previously stated that should the number of COVID test results and related hospitalizations threaten the ability of our healthcare system to properly respond, it may be necessary to go back to the full restrictions of staying at home. The governor says he fully understands that these orders are creating economic hardships for bars and other businesses, especially bars with or without food services, but they are now required not to allow on-premise consumption of any food or drink. Bars are also allowed to provide for a takeout or curbside delivery to include alcohol, but I would just remind everybody that the city of Bossier City has ordinances about open containers in cars and buying alcoholic beverages and drive-through establishments. Crowd sizes, whether indoor or outdoor, remain limited to 50 people, except for businesses designated by the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency determined to be essential businesses. Also, churches and other faith-based organizations are exempted. And I quote from the Governor's Proclamation number 89, "Every individual in Louisiana shall wear a face covering over the mouth and nose when inside a commercial establishment or any other building or open space that is open to the public, whether indoor or outdoor, and this shall include on commercial or public modes of transportation." The exceptions in Proclamation number 89, I will remind all of us of those exceptions to this requirement. The first is that individuals who will not come in contact with any other person or who will be able to maintain strict social distancing of at least 6 feet. The next is any child under the age of 8. However, it is strongly recommended that children 2 to 8 wear a mask, but that may be difficult. Individuals with medical conditions that prevent face coverings. Another is when consuming food or drink, obviously. When communicating with hearing impaired individuals, or when giving a speech for broadcast or to an audience. All business organizations other than religious shall require all persons who enter the premise to wear a face covering, with 2 exceptions. The first of those exceptions are individuals in the categories I just enumerated for you, and the second are those few parishes in the state who have met the criteria to opt out. And to the best of my knowledge, that's only 3 parishes out of the 64 that have met that criteria. The closest one to us is Red River Parish, and the other 2 were in South Louisiana. When business does not allow entry to a worker, a customer, or a patron, and they want to come in without wearing face covering, the business is required to refuse letting them in the premises, and law enforcement may enforce trespassing laws or any other laws that are violated. Businesses are required to enforce the facial covering requirement, but citations will be written only to businesses and organizations other than religious that fail to enforce the requirement to wear face covering. The city police officers that have been observed at some local businesses are off-duty officers that have been hired by those businesses. Everyone in public places such as parks, outdoor recreation, shopping areas, and social settings should avoid crowds of 50 people or more, particularly if social distancing is not practical. Wearing a facial mask or covering is not a substitute for keeping a social distance of 6 feet from individuals not in your household. It will take every one of us wearing a mask or face covering to help flatten this curve. It's the fact that many people can have coronavirus without exhibiting any symptoms. However, anyone in that category can still infect their friends, family, and other people, causing illnesses and death. The preventive and mitigation protocols remain unchanged, and I will review those briefly. First, wear face masks in public and mass transit. Wash and sanitize your hands. Sneeze or cough into the bend of your elbow. Avoid touching your face. Stay home when you feel sick, and follow the guidance of your medical provider. Citizens needing to visit City Hall are requested to make appointments. We also request that if you have the capability, that you pay your bills online. At this time, I want to ask our two department heads for public safety to make their comments, and we'll start off with Chief Zagone, our chief of the fire department.
I'd like to start off by saying thanks again to the first responders who are on the front line of this, the healthcare workers, police officers, everyone, and all their hard work. Your hard work doesn't go unnoticed. We're still doing the same thing. We're still transporting patients just like we always have, and we have the aeroclave machines to decontaminate the ambulance after we drop off a patient while the paramedics in doing report before we pick up the next patient. So you will be in a sterile environment at that time. We have recently ordered more PPE. At this day and age, you have to be in the queue to get the PPE, so we probably won't take delivery of some of it to the end of the year, but we're really ordering now for 2021. So we would have the PPE prior to getting into the next year's challenge with this coronavirus. We're just trying to think ahead and stay ahead of this curve so we can still treat and take care of all the citizens and visitors of Bossier City. I want you to know we're going to still do everything we've always done to make sure you're taken care of and give you the best service possibly if you come to Bossier City or you're a citizen of Bossier City. Thank you very much. And once again, if you need any help, you're a business, need anything, information, 741-8400. It's Fire Prevention Office. They'll be glad to come out and assist you with occupant loads or anything they can during this time. I know there's a lot of questions out there, and they should be able to help you. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning. I would also like to thank the first responders and the medical community for their efforts during this pandemic. I'd also like to thank the citizens of Bossier for continuing their efforts to adhere to the governor's guidelines. I'd like to elaborate a little bit on what the mayor discussed in reference to the businesses that are required to enforce the face mask. Understand that has been put on the backs of the business owners and management to enforce. If you do not adhere to the mandate to wear a mask, they're going to ask you to leave the business. At that point, if you don't leave the business, they're going to contact law enforcement and we'll engage and we'll address and enforce the applicable laws. Just bear in mind, we understand as well as everybody else that it's not necessarily a popular thing. It's not a comfortable thing to wear a mask, but every time you create a situation to where a police officer has to respond to a mask enforcement situation, that's a situation that you're taking their time to where they could be out doing other enforcement at that point in time. So let's do our due diligence and adhere to the mask and try to eliminate as much as we can law enforcement having to respond to mass situations. Thank you.
Thank you, Chiefs. Good information and good advice. The governor has also requested in the past and recently that we be good neighbors, ladies and gentlemen. As we pointed out, wearing of the mask is controversial, but most of all health organizations have indicated that doing so will save lives. I think there was a poll ran just yesterday that in Louisiana, around 76% of the people, whether they like the mandate or not, they recognize that the health professionals have unified in saying they will save lives and that we should all wear masks and voluntarily if necessary, but it is mandated by Proclamation number 89. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to continue to be having problems with this global pandemic issue for a long time. So please be a part of the solution, not part of the problem. I urge you to voluntarily wear your mask and face covering and continue to comply with the mitigation and prevention procedures. I want to thank the citizens of Bossier Parish and Bossier City and the surrounding community that are complying. I have personally observed that it looks like all of us are doing a much better job in wearing the mask when we should, and I encourage you to continue doing so. So I want to thank all of you who are joining with us in this fight against this global pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, that will conclude our briefing this morning. Our next briefing will be Thursday, July the 30th. Thank you and good day.